What's up, guys? Let's talk about this Audi RS6, a twin turbo project that we've been working on. You can see behind me, I've got the headers built. They're Schedule 10 stainless. We're doing this because they have to support the turbos. Got everything tucked super tight. This side's not as tight because we don't have to worry about, or the engine itself is offset to the passenger side just like every OEM car, and we've got more clearance over here. So some of these things, the tacks kind of fell off and they're hanging down a little bit, but you get the idea. Laid out pretty good. Thought I had it figured out, and then I went to put it in the car, which was, you'll see in the second part of this video. But for right now, let's look at these primaries. You can see where it lays on the frame rail, where it's kind of greasy in the engine bay. As you can see, it's left marks where it's touching. This one has a little bit on it, but it really doesn't touch. That was just the heat shielding, and I was able just to push that back with my finger, and so this one clears. But what I'm going to have to do is sink this primary and this primary in a little further. I probably could get away with this one not having to be done, but if I do this one, I'm going to do this one too, just to be on the safe side. So sometimes when you're working on an application like this, even though you measure and you think you've done it, you better not weld everything up and take all that time to do it until you put it in the car and test fit it, because even taking every precaution that I could, I still missed the mark by just a little bit. So what we're going to do is just modify these two. The other side, it only touches right there, which there was a bracket right here behind this. I took that bracket off, pushed the heat shielding back, so we should be fine right there. So I'm not going to have to touch that side. Another thing I'll talk about that we did, we took these air inlets for the turbos and cut the bottoms of them out, where they are like 3 inches now on the bottom inlet. Let me show you what was on there. That little baby right there, that's like, let me see, the OD of that is only like 2 inches. The ID, you're talking like 1 7/8 inches. So all the power from these 58s, I believe they are, Garrett's, was going to be sucking through an 1 7/8 inches hole, and that was going to really hinder the performance of these turbos. So we went ahead and cut the bottom of that. This is a port for the blow-off valve resert stuff. We just took all that out from underneath the intake, and we're going to just get rid of it or something. Even though they was trying to keep everything OEM on this car, I just think that's going to be a huge restriction going into these turbos. So what we're going to do is build like a carb hat out of aluminum. It'll come up to here and it'll V-band to this, not a rubber coupler, because it'll be hard to get rubber coupler in on and off. So we're going to weld a V-band to this. That way it can just sit right there, and then it'll side feed out to this. It's got a huge air box that goes on top of the motor, ties into the front with mass air sensors and all kinds of stuff on it. So we want to try to keep all that. So that's what we're going to do there. We're going to have to hand make that per side. See our oil filter, we've got plenty of clearance down there. So now, second part of this video, I want to show you what it looks like in the car. I had everything taken out, was about to pull the motor out, and I decided to pick up the camera and show you how it doesn't fit in the car with the primaries hitting the frame. So let's check that out. All right, we've got the motor sitting in here now, and I've already took the stuff off of it to start taking it back out, but I'll show you what the issue is. You can see, even with measuring, those two primaries are laying against the frame rail. It'll go in and bolt up the pinion, or not the pinion angle, but the tail shaft angle. Everything is good for the layback of the motor, but it's just rubbing the frame rail on that side. This side, we are good. It touches the heat shield just a little bit when it goes off the collector, but nothing that can't be just pushed back with your hand. So sometimes it don't go as planned. So I'm gonna pull the motor back out, get it set up here, and I'm gonna change the two primaries on the passenger side, the front two. I'm gonna sink them in further to try to gain some more clearance there, because if it was my own car, I'd start chopping the frame rail or massage it with a hammer. But with this particular car, I don't want to start cutting on the car at all if we can help it. So I'm going to tweak them primaries, and then we should be good. And I'll test fit it one more time, and then I'll pull it back out, start welding all the primaries up, and once we get everything welded, then we'll put it back in again, and we'll figure out the wastegate placement and everything, and then we'll pull it back out and weld those, then back in again, and then we'll be ready for downpipes. So that's where we're at on the Audi. So I'll tell you a little bit more as we progress further on with it. See ya.